Your erections aren't what they used to be. Maybe they're weaker. Maybe they take longer to happen. Maybe they fade at the worst possible moment. And you've been telling yourself it's just age, just stress, just life. But what if I told you there's a silent process happening inside your body right now that's systematically dismantling your ability to achieve and maintain an erection? And most men have no idea it's even happening until the damage is already significant. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. An enlarged prostate doesn't just affect urination. It doesn't just wake you up at night. It actively, progressively, and quietly destroys erectile function. Not all at once, not in an obvious way, but piece by piece, month by month, it breaks down the exact mechanisms your body needs for normal sexual function. And by the time most men realize what's happening, they've already lost years of function they didn't have to lose. This isn't about getting older. This is about a specific physical process that can be addressed if you understand what's actually happening. And right now, your prostate is likely doing 3 things simultaneously that are directly sabotaging your erections. First, it's physically blocking blood flow. Your prostate sits right at the base of your penis, surrounded by the blood vessels that supply erectile tissue. When your prostate is healthy and normal-sized, those vessels have plenty of room to expand and deliver the massive blood flow that erections require. But when your prostate enlarges, which happens to the vast majority of men over 50, it presses on those vessels from the outside. It's like someone slowly tightening a clamp around a water hose. At first, the flow just weakens a bit. You can still get an erection, but it's not quite as firm. Then the clamp tightens more. The flow weakens further. Erections become inconsistent. And eventually, if the pressure continues, the flow becomes so restricted that achieving any significant firmness becomes a real struggle. Second, it's compressing the nerves. The nerves that control erections run directly alongside your prostate. When your prostate is inflamed and swollen, it doesn't just take up more space, it presses on those nerves. And nerves don't function properly under pressure. The signals that tell your blood vessels to relax and allow blood to rush in, those signals get disrupted, delayed, weakened. So even if you're mentally aroused, even if everything else is working, the communication system between your brain and your erectile tissue is being interfered with by the physical pressure of an enlarged prostate. And third, chronic prostate inflammation is quietly lowering your testosterone. Most men don't realize this connection, but when your prostate is under constant stress and inflammation, it triggers a whole body response. Your body starts producing more cortisol to deal with the inflammation, and cortisol directly suppresses testosterone production. It's a vicious cycle. The more inflamed your prostate gets, the more your testosterone drops. And the lower your testosterone, the weaker your libido, the harder it becomes to achieve erections, and the less firm those erections are when they do happen. So you've got 3 things happening at once. Blood vessels being compressed, nerves being disrupted, testosterone being suppressed, all because of one organ that's silently growing and inflaming without you even noticing, until the sexual symptoms become impossible to ignore. And here's what makes this particularly insidious. It happens so gradually that you normalize it. The first time an erection is a bit weaker, you blame stress or fatigue. The 10th time, you start to wonder. The 50th time, you've accepted it as your new normal. But this isn't normal. This is progressive dysfunction caused by a specific, addressable problem. This is just information to help you understand the mechanism. It's not a diagnosis. If you're experiencing these symptoms, talking to a healthcare provider is always a smart decision. But understanding what's actually happening helps you make sense of why your body is responding this way. Now, here's what most men do when they finally realize their erections are consistently weaker. They reach for pills. And those pills can work, at least temporarily. They force your blood vessels to dilate regardless of what's pressing on them. But here's the problem. The pills don't reduce the inflammation in your prostate. They don't relieve the pressure on those nerves. They don't restore your testosterone levels. So you're forcing a temporary result without addressing any of the three underlying mechanisms that are causing the problem. And over time, the pills work less well. You need higher doses. They become less consistent because the prostate keeps enlarging, the pressure keeps increasing, and the testosterone keeps dropping. You're trying to override a worsening mechanical problem with a temporary chemical solution. And eventually, the mechanical problem becomes too severe for the chemical override to fully compensate. Some men ignore it completely. They just accept that their sex life is over or dramatically reduced. They stop initiating intimacy. They avoid situations where their dysfunction might become obvious. And they live with this quiet frustration and sense of loss without ever addressing the root cause. Years go by, the prostate continues to enlarge. And what could have been addressed early becomes deeply entrenched. Here's what happens if this continues without proper intervention. Your prostate doesn't stop enlarging on its own. The inflammation doesn't resolve without support, so the compression on blood vessels increases, the pressure on nerves intensifies, the testosterone suppression worsens, and what started as occasionally weaker erections becomes consistently weak erections, then difficulty achieving any firmness. And in advanced cases, near-complete erectile dysfunction, even with pharmaceutical assistance. This is the progression urologists see constantly in men who wait too long to address the underlying prostate issue. And it's completely avoidable if the root cause is supported at the right time. So why don't typical approaches solve this? Because they're focused on managing symptoms, not reversing the actual process. Pills bypass the problem temporarily. Ignoring it allows it to worsen. Random supplements provide scattered nutrients without comprehensively addressing inflammation, circulation, hormones, and cellular health simultaneously. None of these approaches reduce the size of your prostate. None of them relieve the physical pressure on blood vessels and nerves. None of them restore hormonal balance. The only thing that actually reverses this process is comprehensive support for your prostate at multiple levels at the same time. You need compounds that reduce inflammation deep in the tissue so the swelling decreases and the pressure eases. You need ingredients that improve blood flow, not just temporarily, but in a sustained, foundational way. You need natural support for testosterone production and hormonal balance. And you need antioxidants that protect cells and help tissue recover from the oxidative stress it's been under. When all of those work together simultaneously, something remarkable happens. The prostate tissue starts to shrink slightly as inflammation reduces. The pressure on blood vessels decreases. The nerves are no longer being compressed. The hormonal signals start normalizing. And your body begins restoring the erectile function that was being systematically dismantled. This doesn't happen instantly. It happens progressively over weeks. Most men notice the first changes around week 3 or 4. Erections start feeling slightly firmer. Morning erections begin returning. The time it takes to achieve an erection decreases. And over the course of 6 to 8 weeks, many men see dramatic improvement. Erections that were barely possible become reliably achievable. Firmness returns, maintenance improves, confidence rebuilds. But here's what's critical. Results depend entirely on addressing all the mechanisms at once. If you only reduce inflammation but don't support blood flow, you'll see minimal change. If you only improve circulation but don't balance hormones, the progress stalls. This requires a complete, multi-targeted approach, where every element works together to give your body what it actually needs to reverse the damage. Expectations need to be realistic. This isn't a pharmaceutical that forces an immediate override. This is foundational support that allows your body to heal and restore normal function. Most men see meaningful improvement between 4 and 8 weeks. Some see changes sooner, some take longer, depending on severity and consistency. But the pattern is clear. Support the prostate comprehensively, and erectile function can improve significantly. Doing nothing guarantees. This gets worse. Every month your prostate remains inflamed and enlarged, the compression on blood vessels increases, the nerve disruption intensifies, and the testosterone suppression deepens. What's difficult now becomes nearly impossible later. What requires weeks to reverse now might require months if you wait. Taking action while the damage is still reversible gives you the best chance of restoring the sexual function you've lost. In the description below, there's a link explaining a comprehensive natural approach that targets all 3 mechanisms destroying your erectile function. Inflammation reduction, sustained circulation improvement, hormonal balance restoration. It's not a quick fix, it's complete foundational support, so your body can rebuild what's been broken down. If this video described what you're experiencing, if you're watching your sexual function deteriorate year by year, that link is your next step. Before you go, drop a comment. Are you dealing with this right now? You don't need to share details, but your comment helps other men realize this is common, addressable, and not something you just have to live with.